love choreography, and we were just trying to figure out how to bring Indian classical dance and incorporate it with LA. We were trying to mimic each other's steps, but in our own way, which was a challenge, and that was the bulk of our last term. But I felt like these last 3 weeks, like the first weeks of spring term, we really started understanding the meaning, and it connected to each and every one of us. The last two practices, I think we all felt it. And I know that we all felt it on the stage. It was definitely so empowering to dance this, and we all basically personified a woman in our feeling, and in the end, we tried to become one woman with all the feelings. So, yeah.
And I think it's, for me, it's hard when I hear statistics to really like have an emotional reaction. Like I want to, but I sometimes feel like kind of paralyzed. So it was really good for me to have this way of expressing emotion and responding to them just as I say that. I think when we hear stories, that's when we can really engage and relate and respond. So I mean, I think at times it was hard, like when you really like when I really think about like what I was acting out and just the fact that there's all these women out there who are in this awful situation. That's hard, but it was also really great for me to be able to respond.
And probably one of the most powerful moments for me was at the end of February. We finally put our dance together. So I'd never seen Sherry do her dance, and she never heard me sing it. But I just remember the first time Shilpa said, Sneeka, just watch Sherry, so sort of sing, and watch what she's doing as you sing it. And it was an incredible, very, very powerful, and very emotional moment. I remember feeling very overwhelmed, because we sort of paralleled each other. And when I was singing, she was feeling her dance too, and it was incredible. Like, at first, when I first practiced the song, I definitely sang it too fast. And I know I was trying to figure out how I'm going to fix this, but then Shilpa was like, just watch Sherry. And as soon as I watched her, I felt exactly what she was feeling at the same exact moment. So that was one of the more powerful moments of this.
In terms of the creative process, it was beautiful. Thank you for that. I was wondering if the way you work, if you, Shilpa, I guess, put the choreography together just yourself and then translated it to the dancers, or if you work improvising. For example, did you use sources like reading testimonies of victims of trafficking, or did you meet with them? I'm very interested in that, how we know how the idea began, but in terms of putting it together as a creative process, how was that? How did it happen?
That's a very good question. I actually did not read testimonies, and I did not directly meet any a trafficked human being, but there were two things that kind of triggered it. One was working with Pamela at Alice Hospital with victims of trauma. Not quite sure what their trauma was, but there was trauma. And I believe that, talking to them and just seeing them grow in dance kind of was my, information, the way of, visualizing the reality who they are today. Not some epic, whatever they put in media or whatever as some sort of lost soul, but people that are empowering themselves and moving forward and trying to overcome what they've been through. So I think that was one, a source. And another source was actually after the Indian, the rape happened in India. I remember asking my parents, gets religious, so it's not like false testimony, but this people think about it. So I thought about women in my religion, in my culture, and as when we're told, if the mind comes up to you and bothers you, it's your fault. If you are walking in the street and someone catcalls you, well, you looked too good. But you enticed him, you pushed him. Or even in our stories, we have very powerful women, but then they have very, empowering moments in history where men have done something to them, or their lives were in the hands of men, or men told them to step in the fire to test their purity, told them to rip off their hair in public, and all in our story. There's obviously a reason for everything. If you read the whole book, if I know the whole thing, then obviously I'd be like, oh, right, things happens. But when I first saw it, I didn't understand why, when the woman's hair being pulled off. God's only reaction was to give more clarity, not remove her from the situation. So I guess my question was, why continue humiliation? And why let that happen? The woman is not being, talked about. It's the man, or the man's act on the woman, or society's reaction to the woman, but no one's asking, what's her idea, what's her thought? And so I think that naivety, I would say, started this. I think I did not do as much research as I probably should have, but that was just the basic seed of it. So from there, I kind of had a structure, and then these lovely people would just add in the steps or change it up or completely rewrite it, and it was pretty fun. Go ahead.
We did, I think, one point last term, we all went and got dinner together, and we found a few articles about human trafficking, and we sat down, and I think that was really a turning point in our choreography process, because we looked at it and we read a story of like a woman who actually went through this process. We said, okay, where do we see her emotions? Like, what is that actually in real life presenting? And I think from that point, when we came back, it wasn't just steps. Okay, let's feel sadness. It's like, why do we feel sadness? Why are we doing this move? Why are we facing away from her and towards her? And then all of a sudden, and then we began talking about the story more. Like having the facts. I forgot that.
But yeah, it was very metaphorical. A lot of the, I guess, the pushing, the shoving, the tree, the regrowth, the kidnap, the sheets. Yeah, a lot of it became metaphorical. I kind of all returned back to the circle, so I can get a song. Yeah. Any other questions?
One last question.
First of all, that was really, really beautiful, and I liked it a lot. Could I hear some of you talk about why this issue matters to you personally?
I feel like this issue matters to me because it should matter to everyone. It is just completely, like, there's no reason why this should be happening to anybody. I think I first started being invested in the issue during the year after I graduated high school. I took a gap year, and one of the things that I did was work with an organization in DC called Project, which helped women who were coming out of prostitution find jobs and recover from the trauma they had been through. And that was a completely moving experience. I mean, I did literally nothing for these women. They taught me so much about what it means to live and what it means to find hope and what it means to heal. And from that point on, I cannot turn a blind eye to this kind of trauma that people face. And I mean, it's not just women, it's all people. And I think that as human beings, we have a duty to stand up for other people, and that we have a calling to put ourselves on the line for other people to live life. And I don't know, yeah.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go share.
Okay, just to add to that, I think for me that sense of duty and calling comes out of like what I believe that God has done for me, because I believe that God stepped out of his world and that came into ours to and identify himself with us, and so we also ought to step out of our world, so to speak, our comfort zone, and step into the pain that other people are dealing with. Because I have a really poignant moment for me in the dances when we say, how could you have forgotten me? And sometimes I feel like I'm saying that to myself, because sometimes I do want to forget this. Like, I don't want to have to deal with this. I'd rather go about my day and do my things and be happy with all my sins that I have. But because this is something that God has done for me and the way he's healed me, and I think I found freedom too, so it's important for me to pass this on and to respond to God by remembering and by praying, by doing things like this and donating all the different ways that we can be part of that response.
I just want you guys to take a moment
performance on Thursday at 6 p.m. again here in Emerson. So if you want to come see it again, you're welcome to do that on Thursday, and please tell your other friends to come see it. Lastly, in honor of Earth Day, we are asking that you return the programs to the bowl outside so that we can reuse them on Thursday rather than dumping them. So happy